Hello, this is HQ Cap. We're going to be watching a Warbits replay of a game I played versus Leomar 22. Warbits is a turn-based strategy game, very much like Advance Wars. Today we'll be playing on network with powers on and fog on. Unfortunately, I forgot to record the first couple turns of gameplay, so we'll be reproducing the game in a custom match until we can switch over to the actual replay. I was able to kind of trace back the funds and the units I saw and figure out what his turns were and his moves. Here I am starting as the red bear player with 2 infantry. Going to use those to get some captures off in the middle of the map. A pretty standard opening for Warbits. The first turn advantage that I have is naturally negated as he has a starting infantry here, which we see moving. He'll be building a probe on the left and a probe on the right, which is a fairly aggressive strategy. I'll point out some features of this map. There's 2 factories in the middle, very important, and 2 cities. You notice mine is on his side of the map and his is on mine. There's 2 mountains and a couple of these brown tiles. Mountains give a lot of defense. These brown tiles are negative defense tiles. A lot of this game will be focused on capturing those middle factories and taking the opponent's city in the middle of the map. I'm moving straight forward on the right, and on the left side, I'm going straight for that factory. Dropships being built, and a heavy infantry. Heavy infantry are pretty powerful versus vehicles and other infantry, and that transport unit will help me get them into the center of the map as they have low mobility. I'll be going over some differences between Advance Wars and Warbits throughout the game. One of those is how power works, and there are no CO powers in this game. There's a list of powers. Both commanders can choose from any of them as long as you have the right charges. 5 up in the top left, that's the number of charges he has. And we'll see some of the use of those powers later in the game. His probes are going out, scouting, looking to harass my infantry capturing, while his infantry capture. So I'm going to probably lose this city on his side of the map. There's not a lot I can do about it, so I need to figure a way to get more funds, as I'm going to be down 2,000 funds net, as he's gaining 1,000 and I'm losing 1,000. I'm going to try to poke away at this probe on my side of the map, reduce the damage it'll probably end up dealing to my infantry capturing here. And we're going to be loading up some infantry in this transport copter. That heavy infantry will let me deal with some of these probes and bigger units that he'll eventually get out onto the map. They deal great damage versus vehicles and are fairly cheap. I'm deciding what unit to build, either a light mech or a gunner. I end up going with a gunner, as it'll let me one-shot his transport copter and deal some good damage to his probe. Transport units in Warbits work a little bit different than Advance Wars. If you load a unit into a transport, on the following turn they can be dropped and move and attack in that same turn. We see his infantry capturing that city, his probe getting trapped on the left side, which is unfortunate for him. He is able to deal some damage on the right side with this probe, but I'm able to counter it with a combination of these 3 units. However, having to finish it off with that infantry does delay my capture a whole nother turn. Moving out with this heavy mech, gonna pretty much destroy this probe, making it just about useless unless he pulls it back for repairs. Repairs also work different in Warbits. Repairs do not cost any funds, and so a good strategy is to pull weakened units back to repair and then get them back out on the map once they're useful again. I'm going to pull up the intel screen. It's a little bit different in Warbits. You're able to see the funds, number of units, and income in Fog of War. The charges there, 7 and 5, are power meters building up. To generate power, you need to destroy enemy units. So I got 2 power from killing his probe and started with 5. He also started with 5 power. Building an infantry in the top right to support my infantry trying to take his city. And then I built a ranger, which is a new unit, kind of like a sniper. It's a indirect unit that doesn't have any direct attacks, but is a powerful ranged unit versus infantry. See, his probe continues to be aggressive, but now it's in a position where it's likely going to be destroyed. Here I go destroying that probe, getting me another 2 power, so now I'm up to 9. I'm going to similarly be aggressive with my probe, delay his capture as he's getting kind of ahead in the capture game. He's 2,000 funds ahead, as I'm still trying to capture my first building of the game. Fortunately, I was able to kill those 2 probes early on and get a little bit of a unit advantage. However, if I don't catch up in income, he's going to run away with this game. This gunner in the top right is my most valuable unit on the map, and I want to find a spot where it's defensive but also has the opportunity to jump out and either kill a transport or prevent infantry from capturing that factory of his down below. We see the ranger on the left there getting ready to capture that factory. I'm screening with my transport copter, which is a little bit of a risky play if he had a gun around, but I don't think he does, and I figure that transport copter will be able to shield my ranger from any attacks next turn. I initially had intended to place this ranger on that mountain tile next to this capturing infantry, but unfortunately I didn't have units ready to go to capture this factory, and I'm kind of throwing the ranger in and hoping it can get the capture off in time and get out before taking significant damage. The ranger unit is great for zoning, and once I get it on this mountain, it'll increase its range from 3 spaces to 4, which really allows me to control the middle of the map, harass any units trying to capture his factory, and defend my own side of the map. Taking a look at the intel screen, we see he's up in income by 2,000. I have 3 more units and 4 more charges. So I need to really utilize the unit advantage I have and my charges to try to bring this game back and catch up in income. Unfortunately, my probe gets taken out by his mech. Here he is being aggressive, continuing to delay my capture of his city. However, I have a gunner and infantry ready to go to counteract this play. My gunner takes out his transport copter, and my infantry deals some damage to his heavy mech. I really wanted to get rid of that transport to reduce the effectiveness of his infantry later in the game. I am down in income, so I'll need to do something about that. I'm going to use the cash out power, which trades 10 charges for 5,000 funds. Lets me build a light mech, which is basically a tank in Advance Wars. Here I am loading up some infantry, getting ready to counterattack wherever he pushes. That ranger on the left side capturing that factory is really important. I'm hoping to get that factory capped next turn to start pumping units into the middle of the map instead of having to transport them from the corners. Again, that ranger, kind of scary being there as it has no direct attack and is basically defenseless. Here's the intel tab. We see he has an income advantage of 1,000 and 6 charge advantage. I do have a slight unit advantage, but that's because I just built a couple units. The advantage that I'll have to utilize is that I have more transport units than he does. I've been building up slowly over time and was able to take out that transport copter early in the game, making my infantry more mobile and more useful. He's continuing to be aggressive. Fortunately, I've prepared for this. My heavy infantry in combination with this light mech will be able to make short work of his light mech. I was also able to take out that heavy infantry, getting me back almost tied up to him in terms of charges. Shielding my gunner there with that light infantry with 1 HP. In Warbits, units do not cost funds to repair, so I'm hoping to shield that gunner and get it back on that city, repair it up over a course of a couple turns, and bring it back into the fight. I'm deciding what to build next. I think I'm going to go for another light mech, as he is probably building light mechs of his own to counteract some of the vehicles I've been putting out. I get my transport copter in a great position to kind of support whichever side of the battlefield he decides to push next, continuing to build infantry on that left side of the map just to make sure I have units ready to support that left side if he decides to take the battle over there. Here you see me taking a picture of the intel screen. It's pretty useful in Warbits. You can try to calculate some of the activities of your opponents. You can try to get a guess as to what they're doing, what units they're building. Maybe they're saving up for a larger unit. We see he continues to make probes to try to harass my infantry capturing structures. Fortunately, I already secured that factory, and he can't take it away from me. He's going for a capture of this factory himself, sending more infantry to attack my ranger, taking its health down. I'm getting some repairs on that gunner, harassing his capture, and I'm going to destroy this probe pretty easily. Probes in the late game kind of fall off. They don't have a lot of defense, and their firepower isn't that great. That ranger that just loaded up into that transport is actually going to get healed during this turn. Units in Warbits heal while in transports on top of properties. My heavy mech there finally getting the capture restarted on that blue city on my side of the map, and just loading up some more infantry to counterattack. Getting transport units back, cycling them through. You notice I only attacked with this light mech because I've been keeping track of his units, and I'm pretty sure there's an infantry hiding in that forest next to that factory. Income advantage is still his, but I am tied to charges and have a slight unit advantage. I also have a plan for next turn. I'm going to use a power called Infantry Booster, which will let me capture that blue city on my side of the map next turn and get some capture started on these cities in the middle of the map. The power basically takes half your unit's health and adds that to the capture value. We see here he's trying to take this factory, pops a heavy infantry out here, which will basically blow up my mech with assistance from his infantry in the woods. I'm going to counteract this, popping the ranger on that mountain. You'll see the effectiveness of that mountain here in just a second. You'll notice my ranger has increased range and can target that factory. This basically locks down that factory until he can deal with that ranger. Here's that infantry booster coming in. Notice that 8 HP is able to capture 12 points. This 10 HP unit's able to capture 15, and this other infantry is going to do a 15 points of capturing on this other city. So this is the pressure really getting applied to him. He's got to do something to stop me capturing all these cities and either use multiple units or bring out some bigger guns. Again, transport copters getting in position to support either side of the map. With a zoomed out view, we can really see I'm starting to take control of the center. My ranger there supporting everything I'm doing. I've tied the income. I have a unit advantage. He does have a charge lead, so he might be busting out some powers here coming up, which could be scary and threaten my control of the middle. I'm also worried because I haven't seen all of his units. He's got some hiding in the back. Since he's had a funds lead this entire game, he has some pretty powerful units. We see the gunner there coming out, but it's forced to attack my heavy infantry there on that city. It attacks from the road tile, which is actually the more armored tile. That brown spot next to my heavy infantry is a negative armor tile. See here, continuing to just fire with that ranger, prevent capturing of that factory, and we go for the kill. Continuing my capturing, and this gunner is going to get taken down by a combination of heavy infantry because it's exposed on this road tile. And here I am setting up a pretty defensive position, making sure the only way he can attack me is from roads or these negative armor tiles. And here I am cycling my transport copters back. I want to keep them safe in the back line and keep bringing fresh infantry to the front. The only transport unit I really leave forward is that APC, which is fairly armored and is in a forest, so it's kind of protected. I'm back up to 10 charges. I'm scanning around the map. I'm thinking I might want to use a power like that cash out power just to get some more mechs on the field or gunners, but I decide not to and to save up. I have the income advantage, a pretty hefty unit advantage, and we're tied on charges. I'm waiting to see if he'll use a power, and then I'll counter his with my own. Take a screenshot again just to make sure I'm on top of what units he might be building, make sure he's not saving up for anything. This gives a pretty good overview. I'm well controlling the center, pushing down towards his. And here's his counterattack. He finally built a ranger, which is one of the best counters to infantry. If he'd built more early in the game, he might have stood a better chance at defending my push from the middle. Here's his gunner taking out some units, but it's stuck now on a road tile, which has no defense, and his heavy infantry is now stuck on a negative armor tile. My ranger there continues to do its thing. I'm going to be able to take out his gunner easily. Again, I have the counter units for it, and he has no defense on this square. And we're really seeing the payoff of my investment into transport units. While they may not have an attack of their own, they're really acting as a large force multiplier for my infantry, allowing me to clean up these units in the middle and get off some captures, even trying to capture his factory here on the right side. I was pretty surprised to see he didn't use a power this turn. Powers in Warbits can often be chained together, so saving up is good, but you need to use your powers while you still have units that can benefit from them. So if he had used a power this turn, he might have been able to clear out some of my stuff in the middle and regain power from using his power. Unlike Advanced Wars, when you use a power and you can no longer generate power meter, in Warbits any units you kill while a power is activated still count to regenerating your power, and we'll see that in the future. I have 17 charges. The power I'm looking to use is heavy bullets, which will double the damage of my infantry. And I should be able to use that next turn, as long as I'm able to kill a unit early on. Looking at the map, I'm controlling the middle solidly. He's got a ranger hidden somewhere down there, but I should be able to deal with that next turn. I expect to take some losses, but I have enough units and transports that really shouldn't be an issue. And we kind of see I've overrun his position. My gunner's right next to his airport. He's going to have to take out my gunner if he wants to build any air units. And I've also continued to position my units to take up all the defensive terrain, forcing him to take bad engagements. He's going to try to delay my push with these rangers, which again are the counter to my kind of style that I'm playing right now. He just doesn't have enough. And fortunately for me, I'm able to scout his other ranger, and because it's on a road, this gunner takes it out in one shot. I decide not to use heavy bullets here. I do have the charges for it, but I'm able to deal with everything in front of me on this turn, and I can save it for next turn when we really can start mopping up his units in the middle and securing the game. I have to give my opponent credit. He really got me on the back foot with his aggressive playstyle in the early game, and his fun advantage got me kind of worried. Fortunately, with the use of some of those powers and investing in those transports, I was able to turn things around. This game is a pretty good showcase of the power that infantry and transports can have in Warbits, as you kind of get that dance down, bringing transport units forward, dropping off infantry, making sure those transports are protected or at least hard to get to, and then bringing them back, picking up more infantry, and then adding a couple cool moves like parking them over cities so that you can heal both the transport and the infantry inside, or making sure you're dropping units off with the transport, then in range of a second unit that can then load in, ready for next turn. We're going to see him push back here, deal some damage, but then we'll liven things up with that heavy bullets power, and you'll really get to see what infantry can do. He uses the ship it power, which is a little bit too late. This power allows him to move units that have been built this turn, but because he really doesn't have a stockpile of funds, he can't maximize that power. Here's the heavy bullets. I spend 20 charges to double the attack damage of my infantry, allowing me to almost one-shot that light mech with my heavy infantry, and to allow these damaged infantry units to still have a pretty impressive attack output. Throughout this turn, I'm regaining charges as I destroy units. 2 charges for the lower tier units, 3 for mid tier, and 4 for the high tier. Refueling my transport, dropping off a heavy infantry, and taking out this transport in one turn. Now that transport had an infantry in it, so that gives me a total of 5 charges just from that one heavy infantry's attack. Following it up with vehicles here, making sure we clean up as much as we can and block as many of his unit producing structures as possible, blocking that airport and blocking this factory. As we wrap up this turn, we'll see if I've reached my goal of using heavy bullets and regenerating enough charges throughout the turn to use it again on the following turn. This can be a really powerful combo, as chaining heavy bullets into another round of heavy bullets can really punish your opponent if they don't have countering units for your infantry. We see I have 19, which is just about enough to use heavy bullets on the next turn. All I would have to do is kill one unit. If you guys like what you've seen here, are interested in Warbits, or just love turn-based strategy games like Advance Wars in general, I can't recommend Warbits enough. It has great strategic and tactical depth, and is currently my favorite competitive turn-based strategy game out there. At this moment, Warbits is only available on iPhone, but that'll be changing with the release of Warbits Plus. Warbits Plus is currently in alpha, and plans to release on PC, Android, and iPhone. I'll include links in the description below for the Warbits Discord and ways to sign up for the alpha if you're interested in participating. There's not been a lot confirmed for Warbits Plus since it's still in alpha, but there is a working map editor in the works and some balance tweaks that are currently being pursued. Some of you may have noticed while watching the replay on this turn that my infantry units still have the heavy bullets power activated. This shouldn't be the case and is just a replay bug. You'll see some of my opponent's units gaining some HP, or like this ranger, popping back up on the map after this replay is over and my turn actually begins. I'm just continuing to capture buildings, block his factories and airports, and push for the victory. I'm actually deciding to showcase another power on this following turn just to get some variety and demonstrate some of the other powers in the game. I do plan on making a variety of Warbits videos to follow this one, maybe some comparing and contrasting Warbits versus Advance Wars, maybe even jumping into the campaign levels, the challenge levels, making some tier lists of the units and powers. There's a lot I really could do, and if you guys could leave me some comments down below of what you guys would like to see, I'd be happy to try to make some videos with your ideas. I definitely want to continue putting out 1v1 gameplay reviews. I can either do that in this more quick format, which has replays that I go over or can do commentary over my turns while I actively take them. This video is nice because it's just a short 20-minute video, but longer gameplay videos certainly could be made. As Warbits Plus gets further along in development, I certainly hope to be able to make some videos outlining the changes and tweaks to the game that Warbits Plus will bring and the additional features that will be available in that version. Back to the Warbits game at hand, I'm just continuing to mop up the last bit of defense he has around his HQ. I'll also be looking to showcase another power. This power is called Raise. It costs 25 charges and will allow my units to deal a bonus 2.5 times the amount of damage to enemy units that are on cities or any other properties. This applies to all units, infantry, mechs, vehicles, and aircraft. See, my heavy infantry was able to one-shot his mech, and he's just going to have that APC and a gunner left. Should be able to clean that up next turn without any difficulties. I'm just going to continue doing all my movements as normal, building units, loading units up, capturing structures, kind of just taking a victory lap this last turn. Players in Warbits can have an option to surrender, but oftentimes players like to finish out the game in full and either cap the HQ or completely destroy the enemy's units off the map. Those are the 3 victory conditions in Warbits. Your opponent can surrender, you can capture their HQ, or you can destroy all of their units. I should note that for HQ capping purposes, that power I used earlier this game, Infantry Booster, which boosts the capture rate of your infantry, does not apply to headquarters and only is useful for cities, factories, and airports. I'll likely be going over some more powers in future videos. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this replay. Plan to have some more Warbits videos coming out soon, and if you like the video, please give it a like, comment below, and subscribe to the channel. I'll let you guys finish out the rest of this video on your own. Hope you guys pick up a copy of Warbits and join the Discord, and I look forward to playing you guys in the future. Have a great rest of your day. HQ Cap out.